Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ginger, the founder of Ginger the Voice. We are a communications company that seeks to give hope, courage, and enlightenment. We do this through various platforms such as speaking, singing, and hosting talk shows such as this. And tonight, we've got in our program a music icon in every sense. She was honored with a Living Legend Award from being banned on South African TV stations and radio stations during the apartheid era to having her music on the UK charts. We have none other than Thandeka slash PJ Powers. She's well known for songs such as Jabulani, songs such as Feel So Strong, You're So Good to Me. PJ Powers, welcome to Ginger the Voice. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you, my darling. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you perfectly, 120%, and so excited. I think for me, what excites me more is to see how much you have done, and also how you were during the hard times, and how your music career took a change. I think in 1982, where a beautiful change, where you were invited to sing in Soweto at a time where our country was obviously, not in good standing in terms of,
our race relations.
Race.
Yeah.
But you were invited. It's an irony, in actual fact. People who had no reason to love you, were supposed to actually hate you, embraced you. They even christened you and gave you a name, Thandeka. How did that feel for you? How was that for you?
Oh, I'm so glad that you start with that, because I think that possibly has been my most precious music career memory, is for me to seriously to go into what should have been known and what was enemy territory. The nationalist regime of that time, the apartheid regime, made sure that we knew that the whites were the baddies, just generally across the board, and understandably so, But I went into Soweto and did You're So Good to Me, which was picked up on by Kansas City and VVO on Radio Zulu. And it was an amazing thing, because it was just, I suddenly was given the name Thandeka. And I was christened to Soweto, and I got my first soft landing. Was given to me by Black people. The first time in my life I felt unconditional love was at that time. I felt that I still to this day don't understand why I was given, and how come I got to be so lucky that I could be embraced by all of South Africa. And my life did a 180-degree turn, and just suddenly the trajectory and the way forward was completely different.
Yeah. And I think for me, my most favorite song that I've seen you perform, I think it was with Hotline. I went through a lot of YouTube stuff, and you're singing Dance for Mama or Dance Mama. And I just love the whole and the stage was full. The entire stadium was packed. It was
in those days we used to sing to packed stadiums. Jabavu Stadium. We'd go to Davidson. We'd go to in Soweto, Jabulani Amphitheatre, Jabavu, Orlando Stadium. All three of those stadiums, you must know, they used to be full. There's 60,000 people, 40,000 people every single weekend.
I just want to play that video because I love it so much, especially how you perform and your skills to it. Let's just watch. You look so fresh and so young, with so many people watching you. Weren't you nervous at some point? With the mullet, I think I love it on the Jabulani song where you have your hair somewhere around here and you flick your hair when you sing on the Jabulani song. Were you not
Yeah, those were the
nervous?
days of mullets, and I hear that they're coming back.
Oh yeah, hey. I suppose you're gonna lead the trend, the new trend that's coming through. So how did you feel when you're on stage, seeing so many people watching you, watching PJ Powers? How did you feel?
You know, my career took off very early. I mean,
Yeah,
that video you'll probably find I was 24, 25 years old
yeah,
when that video happened.
yeah.
My career happened very, very quickly for me. And I think I was young and I just was living my dream. I never wanted to be anything else but a singer. I had no, I had no, that was my dream from when I was a little girl. I was 5. And I would
Mm.
follow my sister around with a microphone, saying, please interview me because I was a famous singer in my head. But, I tell you what I do believe. I do believe that those cutting my teeth on those huge audiences
Mm.
was both scary, and
Okay.
I used to be petrified when I went on stage. I still am, but in a different kind. It's a different kind of nerves.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
I just I just can't believe that I got so lucky to have that career of just so many people and so much love. And
You
to
were
this
at your
day,
peak at such a young
I receive
age.
it. Uh,
You were at a high peak at such a young age.
Yes, I was. I was at a high peak at such a young age. But one thing I can say for myself, which I'm very proud about myself, is that it never went to my head.
Absolutely.
I was aware that I was lucky, and I was aware that all those, a stadium of 100,000 people, it was a sign of the times. I don't know whether that would happen again. If
Yeah.
we did, if we managed to get together to,
Yeah.
when we can, do a stadium of only local artists. We see in South Africa promoters and media houses seem to think that we've got to have a big artist from overseas to fill a
Mm,
stadium,
mm,
which
mm.
I don't think
And
is correct. But there's nothing we can do to change their thought process.
yeah, and yet I remember there was a lady called Sharon D, where she would try and get it to South Africans and to say that local is lekker, let
Yeah.
us support local music. And let's just go back talking about the apartheid era where you are embraced, the irony of you being embraced by Black people who were supposed to hate you at that time. I remember that you were banned, it said when I read the stories, you were banned from TV stations and radio stations. And how did that come about? What had happened?
I was banned in the late 80s, early 90s because
Okay.
I had gone to Zimbabwe to perform at a concert with
Let
Miriam Makeba and Harry Belafonte and a whole
Mm,
lot of other serious activists. And
mm,
I became quite an activist, well, a big activist myself, and
mm,
I think I
mm,
was being watched by the apartheid
mm,
regime, by the security police. And I
mhm,
went to Zimbabwe, and clearly they were there, or someone was there that reported that they'd seen me hugging Harry Belafonte and they'd seen me
mm,
hugging Miriam Makeba. And I was seen as a traitor, and
mm.
my at that time vinyl was all of them was scratched through. You could,
Yeah.
right, scratched right through, and they had big. It was when I was writing my book recently. We
Yeah.
found all of that stuff in the archives, and it had
Mhm,
"Do Not Play" on the
mm.
on the on this on the vinyl. And it's a frightening thing when you're a singer and
Yeah.
people don't want
To
to.
hear
I
your
mean,
music.
that people are not allowed to listen to you or hear you.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
banned for over a year.
Oof.
And yeah, it was Nelson Mandela wrote me a letter, and from prison,
Yeah.
encouraging me to
Yeah.
just stay
Continue
strong.
singing. To stay afloat and to continue singing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right. And how is that? Your relationship with him? I know that you established a relationship with him, and how is that?
Tata had and I had a very, very special relationship. I
Mm,
used to go to his home, and and just play my guitar for him when he was bored right at the end, because he loved music. And my birthday's on the 16th of July, his is on the 18th of July, and he always used to say to me, I am very grateful that you are rehearsing on your birthday for my birthday, because of course I always was. So but I loved him dearly, and I miss him terribly, not as a leader, but as a man who had, not even as the president of South Africa, but just as a man who had this enormous, enormous, enormous fountain of wisdom that I used to sit and listen to him. We'd have lunch, and I don't think I used to say anything because he was just so wise. I was just sit and listen to him.
Wow, no. And I know that you're a complete devotee of justice. You are one of the
people,
you're one of the people who are activists when it comes to that. And I know that in our African continent, and I know you're also passionate about Africa, as a whole, as a continent.
Definitely.
There are a lot of unjust things that are happening at the moment. I mean, you talk about Zimbabwe, what's happening in Zimbabwe at the moment, talk about what's happening in Nigeria, not to forget our own plight here in our own country in South Africa, what we're going through, What role do musicians play, or what role should they play in ensuring that, in contributing to ensure that there's justice that's played in South Africa, there's forward thinking, there's progress, people are elevated, people are united, people are one. What role should musicians play?
Unfortunately, and I say this with I'm very prepared to be corrected, but unfortunately I look around and I don't see musicians involved in what is going on in our country. I think that we've moved from quite a spirit of Ubuntu when I was, in those days, there was a great spirit of Ubuntu. And I think that we need to use our voices. I've just done a video for social cohesion, where myself and the Mzansi Youth Choir. But musicians these days don't seem to care. I mean, and I say that broadly. I think that there are some musicians that are doing stuff, but we need to be the voices for the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who support us and who put supper and dinner on our table. Absolutely. We need to start talking. We need to start singing in our music. We need to start saying, when I wrote Give the Children Education, it's the key to liberation. With Everybody Has a Dream, when I did the duet with Tepotolo.
Yes.
We need to be, we should be writing there's a lot of social justice content out there. And musicians, it's our responsibility, not all of our music, but some of our music should be devoted. If you think about Johnny Clegg, if you think about Lady Black Mambazo, if you think about the people of that generation, people wrote about the injustices that were happening. And I think I'll never forget, after 94, Nelson Mandela turned around to me. I saw him a year later, and he said, the struggle has just begun. It's not over. It's just begun. And he was right, because look where we are today, because we thought it was over.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying we're back at square one, but I believe we're back in an era where tension between black and whites is building. And I think that's very sad. I think that takes away everything that these brave, bold men
have fought for
and fought for. Yeah. And I think that we, as everyone, but not only musicians here, everyone, the man on the street, we all need to deliver something to the party to stop that myth that there is a division, because And that saddens me enormously because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're not a new democracy anymore. We're 20 something years into our democracy. And we
We
need
all
to
need
make
to play
sure
a
that
part.
this,
I
I
suppose
be,
you're trying to say we all need to play a part.
exactly, we all need to play a part. So all it
Mm,
is when you go to the shops, smile at the person you're talking to. If they don't immediately smile back, keep
sure,
going. Do your bit. What does it
sure.
cost you to be
Mm,
kind and nice to people? Nothing.
absolutely. Absolutely. I've got a viewer's question here and they want to remain anonymous. So they're saying, what does Africa Day mean to you? And in your opinion, who is an African? Because white people fall under the category of being an African? What's your take on the perception that Africans are only Black people?
I can understand. Well, for first of all, Africa Day, um,
Hmm.
to answer that first question means a lot to me because
Yeah.
I consider myself to be, you know, I've never labeled myself, and as a white woman, I don't want to offend anyone by saying I feel African inside of me, and I do, and
Mm,
I have a very white skin,
yeah.
but I feel Africa. I could never leave Africa ever, and I feel African.
Mm,
Um, I really, really do. I think a lot of white Zimbabweans feel African. I think here in this country, it's a shame because the Nats did their job very well. They made
mm,
whites in this country feel that they weren't African. They
yeah.
made whites in this country feel that that to be African was
About
below
skin color.
us. Yeah.
Mm,
That
mm,
was, you know, you didn't want your Africans were the
mm,
people that came and worked in your homes, and
mm,
that sort of thing. And I think they had a plan, and they won because I
mm,
think very many white people in this country are would really like to call themselves African, but they're too shy to. And I think many black people in this country don't want white people to call themselves African. And
yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. You know, I try every day to try to understand why people think things. And if you look into the history books, I understand why black people think, hang on a second, you're not African. You could forget
Mm,
it.
mm.
So it's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah, yeah. I do know that also one person who really had a positive impact in your music and actually introduced you to the likes of Miriam Makeba was your mom, and you had a very special relationship with her. Maybe you can tell us more about that because you
Oh,
speak
my
so
darling.
fondly of her. And I mean, she died in her 90s. What a great life! What a nice and long life. So maybe you can just tell us more about your relationship with her.
My mother was an amazing woman.
Wow.
Um, she was an amazing woman in that she could not bear any form of injustice,
Mm,
whether it was politically, whether it was people being treated badly because of the color of their skins, whether it was because she went to the shop and she saw that it was advertised, this tin was advertised at that price, and now it's not that price, you know. So she
mm,
fought tirelessly in her
mm,
life
mm.
to create justice for people. My mum really did. My grandmother was a member of the African Children's Feeding Scheme, and
Okay.
my mum was somebody that taught us. We were not a family that could say we didn't know what was going on,
Mm,
like many other families. And I think I'm blessed to have the parents that I had because I knew full well what was going on in this
mm,
country when I was a little girl. I
mm,
I knew my father would say, "Look at that bench. Do you see what's written
mm,
on that bench? It
mm,
says
mm,
whites only." He would, and my mum and dad were great justice seekers. So I suppose I had a good shot at realizing what was going on in this country. My school made me aware of it. I went to a convent, and my school made me aware of the fact that injustices were not. Um, and then, of course, my own self when I started to live in the world, and when I was first exposed
mm,
to
mm,
the first hand to the injustices of this country.
mm,
Um, And the injustices that are happening now, irrespective of whether it's the other way around now,
Yeah.
I'm prepared to have another fight,
Sure.
actually.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think I'm more interested in the song, the famous song Jabulan. How did that come about? Because it's a beautiful song. And I remember when we were young, we would sing to it, even though we didn't know the lyrics. So we would all like go, and then when it comes the part Jabulan, we go, Jabulani. And then because we mumble the lyrics, but it was such a beautiful song. Maybe we can just play it for our viewers to see.
We have had a lovely day at Jabolani. And we wish that we could stay at Jabolani. Jabolani. The people sing and dance. Jabolani.
Maybe we can also talk about the outfit right there. What inspired that outfit?
You know, I styled myself, and that's and you can see it.
Very
I used
evident.
to just get anything. I was a complete non-conformist, so
Sure.
I would get anything that I would buy anything that looked different.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
came home one day with this yellow top. I mean, these yellow striped pants, and I'll never forget somebody saying to me, "Are you mad? Those look like prison clothes, like prison warden's clothes." And I said, "Well, all the more reason for me to actually to do the song in it." And
Yeah.
there was nothing behind it other than, I suppose, my clothing and my clothing choice was a little off the wall, you know. I remember the first time I performed in Jabulani Amphitheatre, I thought, "Oh, goody, I've got to be African now." And I put every bead I could find in my wardrobe on, you know, and everything colorful, you know, because I had a stereotyped view of what I should be, you know. And I suppose the outfit was just inspired by wanting to be different. I am a nonconformist, and I don't want to walk down anyone in the street and see them in the same clothes as I've just shot my video in. You know, and in those days there was no money to go to designers and have designers come and get sponsorships. And what happens today, you know, where you are styled sort of out of your own self, you know. So it was a case of, you know, I styled myself, and I thought, I look real hot. And I look at it now and I think, what were you thinking?
Oh, you looked good. I love the hair, especially this part right here.
Yeah.
And you do it every time you sing, and you go, whoop.
And let me tell you, I've still got the same amount of hair. It's just shorter. That's the frightening thing. I can build it up to whatever size I like. I was born with this huge hair.
Yeah, I can see. I do know that in 2014 you released a book called Here I Am. And in the book, what's quite interesting about this book is that you divulge your struggle with alcohol. What inspired you to come all out and be transparent to the public? And I know that you wrote it specifically for Soweto people. You dedicated it to Lillian as well, who's your second mom, just by the way.
Yes.
You dedicated that to what inspired you to just come out in the open and talk about your struggle with alcohol?
Well, my book was dedicated to the people of Soweto for obvious reasons. This book, I think that the people of Soweto, Jabulani Amphitheatre, was where my career started, and it was where, and I wanted to thank the people of Soweto for giving me this incredible life. You know, I have had an incredible life. I've had wonderful things happen to me, and I've had a lot of fabulous support, and I've had a lot of, and I've also had my own fair share of darkness.
Absolutely.
I have suffered depression all my life, so I know what it's like to have a mental health issue, because that is what we need to understand more than anything is that is that it's an illness. And I think that it was tied up with my alcoholism. I started to drink very late. I think I started drinking at 26. But and I was okay. I drank, like a party
Sure.
animal, and then I had such a hangover that I couldn't drink again, and I was a young woman, just having parties, and it was all fine. But by my mid-40s, I realized that I was no longer drinking anymore for fun. I was drinking because I needed to. I was drinking because I wanted to run away. I was drinking because I wanted to blot out something,
It was
And
sort of like your coping mechanism.
yeah, it did. I
Okay.
started to self-medicate with
Okay.
alcohol. It no longer was it no longer was a party social thing. And I started to self-medicate, and it was so weird because people say, we never saw you really misbehaving or being so drunk out that you couldn't. And what happened was, when I crossed that line, it was weird, into alcoholic drinking, I stayed at home. I stayed at home for 3 years, because I didn't want anyone to see me like that. I literally, and then after 3 years, I closed the curtains and I got into my bed and I didn't get out for a year, which was very scary. I would get the security guards at the complex to
Yeah.
go and buy me vodka, and I literally, my sister used to come and visit to see,
Okay.
I think, to see whether I was alive.
Yeah.
And but I drank myself into an alcoholic seizure. Eventually, I drank. Couldn't find any alcohol anywhere,
And you went for
and
the hairspray.
yeah, I lost my car and my house and everything, and I was living at my sister, and I found Flex hairspray in
Yeah.
her cupboard, and I drank that, and that's when I had the alcohol seizures and went to hospital. And the doctor said, I mean, wasn't conscious, but I just heard her say to my sister, she's going to die,
Oof.
and
Oof.
I kind of then saw this light, like a liter, coming through the cracks and I suddenly realized that this is not, I didn't want to die. I
Yeah.
thought I wanted to die for many years.
Mm, mm,
But that
mm,
made me realize that with that being so close to death, made me
mm,
realize that I didn't want to die.
mm. Just to go back a bit, PJ Powers, there's a gentleman here called Ferdinand James Van Zyl. So you had said that you don't want to go anywhere, Africa's your home, and he's commenting on that. He's saying that I feel the same way as you, Siswam. My heart is here. My stand is Zulu. I love all and live with all. I will always be against any type of oppression. Inkosi Kubusisi's Thandeka, 80s hairstyle. So he's basically saying that he's married to a Zulu lady, Ferdinand James Van Zyl, and he's saying just like him, he's going nowhere. Africa is his home.
Well, tell Ferdinand James Van Zyl we'll be the last two, if needs be.
Going nowhere. Yeah. So there's also a viewer here asking, she wants to remain anonymous. She's asking, how did your alcohol situation spiral out of control?
I think that alcohol is a disease, and it's a disease, and we must be very careful not to stigmatize it, because alcohol is the same. The World Health Organization acknowledges it as a disease that is the same as diabetes.
Yes.
So, I think it becomes it starts off emotionally, my lack of self-worth, which I still battle with to this day.
Yeah.
I know that people may think it's very difficult to believe that
Mm.
PJ Powers, Thandeka,
Insecure.
suffers from issues that are because of lack of self. It is my
Yeah.
biggest issue, and I fight it every day. It's like a serpent that comes back to visit every single day.
Yeah.
So I think that initially I spiraled out of control because of a lack of self-worth. And then it spiraled out of control because I got into a bad relationship. and I
Okay.
became nervous. And I
Mm,
used to drink a scotch or two before my partner came home. And then I would start earlier and earlier and earlier. And then drink later and later and later. And as I say, I wasn't drinking to have fun. I was drinking to cope.
yeah.
And I think that that's a fine line when you're drinking to cope as opposed to drinking to have fun. Please be
Absolutely.
careful is all I can say, because this is a disease that goes from a mental obsession to a physical, just a physical need. And once you've crossed that line, and it's very dangerous to suddenly stop drinking is very dangerous if
Yeah.
you've been on a bender. That's the reason I'm so intent on getting my message across about about binge drinking. It's enormously, it's so dangerous. People don't understand how dangerous it is
So,
to
so
binge drink. But to answer your listener's question, it just snuck up on me. And so many people, I looked up the AA 6 years before I went.
yeah.
If you're starting to quit, a lot of my friends say, I think I drink too much. And I go, that's your decision to make. And they go, yeah, but do you think I drink too much? I say, I can't say you drink too much. You've got to
You need to
realize if you
know.
drink too much.
You need to know when to stop.
Yeah, and some people don't have off buttons, and I don't have an off button with anything. And if you don't have an off button, you start
You're in danger.
taking notice of your pattern.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So at what moment did you admit to yourself that you actually have an alcohol addiction? Because I think for you to be okay, you need to first acknowledge that you are in a bad situation or bad space. So when did you start to realize that you are actually in a bad space? And when did you admit that, okay, now this is it, I'm an alcoholic and I need help?
When I said that word,
Okay.
when I said the word alcoholic,
Mm, mm,
that was the most. That was probably when I started to get freedom, because I fought it. Hey, I said I was a depressive. I
mm.
said I was. I tried to say I was bipolar. I tried to say hundreds of different excuses I had.
Sure.
But the truth is, when I finally said I am an alcoholic, and I went through 5 rehabs. 5 rehabs didn't work.
Sure.
No, 5 rehabs didn't work. And what worked for me, just for me, was the AA. It taught me, it made me realize that I wasn't alone. It made me realize that, very often we think that alcoholics are those outies, that they must be on the street and they're complete outies and they're drinking out of a brown paper bag. Well, it's not the case. There's lots of alcoholics sitting in penthouses drinking out of crystal.
Sure.
And this is not a disease that attacks just the poor. It
Yeah.
it it ge-
Cut
it
across.
goes wherever. It's not selective.
Absolutely. And I know that in your last chapter of your book, Here I Am, the doggy bag, you talk about the doggy bag. And this is where it's quite interesting, where you actually say that it's okay. People do make mistakes. We got to understand as human beings that we're human beings. We're going to make mistakes, and it's okay to make a mistake. What's important is actually to pick yourself up and keep moving. So why was that so important for you to tell us?
I went on a very, very important cruise, which was in Italy and all around, and it was with a teacher called Debbie Ford, who was much like Deepak Chopra and these kinds of people. And she leant over to me before we got off the ship, and she said, "PJ," she said, "you will never win until you learn to fail."
Hmm.
And it was a
Wow.
very sound piece of advice. And
Wow.
that's why I say in my book, we are all human. If one person out there thinks that they're going to go through life not making mistakes, I feel so sorry for you, because we
You're in for
are,
a shock.
yeah, you're in for a huge shock. We people, and we are going to make mistakes. We're
Sure.
going to make big mistakes and we're going to make small mistakes. And the big mistakes, and my God, I've made big mistakes. I'm not good with money, and I've made some atrocious mistakes. You know, and it's about picking yourself up and moving on and doing what you need to do, because we can no longer live in that sort of, there's no point in thinking that success is not, and courage is not the absence of fear. It's the
Sure.
facing fear and going through it. That is what courage is. And success is made up of how you pick yourself up and move on, not how you stay up. And success is made up of turning around and saying, oh my God, I really messed up there. I made a huge mistake. Wow. What am I going to do tomorrow? What should I acknowledge? What should I embrace? And leaving the mistake behind, leaving it behind. Don't let it plague you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But
don't live in your past. Move on.
Oh God, no, live in today. I live
Absolutely.
everything I've ever done, Ginger, in my whole life has led me to this moment talking to you.
Absolutely.
And yesterday is irrelevant.
I want us to go back. You are saying that you are not good with money, and you've made a lot of mistakes and blunders with money. And I think half, if not three-quarters, of the entire population in the world could probably attest to what you're saying for themselves, that they're not good with money. How do you then pick up yourself as an individual if you know that you're not good with money and you've made a dire mistakes? How do you pick up yourself? How do you, with alcohol, we know you went to AA, with other diseases, we know you go to the doctor, etc., etc. But with this disease called mishandling money, which is most people's downfall, how do they pick themselves up? How did you pick yourself up?
I didn't. I think that the finest way to do something there is to hand it over to somebody else, to acknowledge that this is not your strength. Money is not my strength. I know how to make it, but I don't know how to ask people how to I don't know my own worth, and I still battle with my own worth. And I think that's why people in freelance positions and people that are doing what we're doing, or anyone that is bad with money, hand it over to somebody else who's good with money. Pocket your pride and go, you know what? I'm dreadful with money. Maybe there's a husband out there that's dreadful with money that says to the wife, give me an allowance. You are better with money than money burns a hole in my pocket. And Ginger, it still does. So I've now come to realize that I need to live on an allowance, and that's what I live on,
Okay. So where can people find your book? Because I'm sure they're interested to know your life, because it's not just a life of you sang and there was glory into it. There are also some, messy messages in it that we can all learn from. And especially from someone who's a legend like you, it means that if you can make a mistake, I can make a mistake. And if you picked yourself up, I can also pick myself up. How can people find your book? Here I Am.
I think a lot of people can find my book. I mean, unfortunately, you got to order it from Random House or Penguin at the moment, because, or order it from directly from the shops. It is difficult to get hold of at the moment because we haven't gone into a print run, and I'm busy having a little bit of an argy-bargy with my publishers. But I think that my website is just under construction, but when it comes up, and it'll come up in the next month, it'll pop up in the next month, because I'm doing all my motivational speaking and my public speaking and coaching, life coaching, and you'll be able to go directly to my website. It's under construction at the moment, but you can still see where to get hold of me. And if you go, I've just got to shoot the documentary that I'm doing first. And once I'm finished doing that, but I do have my company working on the website. And once it's up, there will be a PayPal that people can buy the book from online.
Okay. In February this year, on Instagram, because I follow you on Instagram quite a lot, and you were doing a video shoot, obviously, in Pretoria with the youth choir, Soweto Youth Choir. And I saw the pictures and the videos. It's a beautiful thing, because I know you have a heart for young people as well.
Yeah.
We'll touch that on a little bit later. But what captured my attention was, and I want to quote it, your caption to that. The caption to that picture, it says, working with these bright minds and souls reminds me how energizing purpose is. And maybe you can tell us, what is purpose and how did you find your purpose? Maybe there's someone who is a young person watching us today, and they would want to know, how do I know that this is how I should be living my life? How do I know that this is my purpose? It seems like you have found yours, and it, as you say, it energizes you. People want to get to that level as well. How do they get there?
I think that first of all, we must divide purpose and passion.
Okay.
My passion is to sing, and but my purpose is definitely to try to deal with injustice, and my purpose is also to make people. That's the reason I've gone into coaching now. I mean, I haven't given up singing, but I'm finding a great purpose in coaching people and helping them find theirs, because purpose is a difficult thing to find, but when you find it, it is a jewel. It is a ruby in your heart. It is the most precious thing to find your purpose, and that's expressly why I'm doing finding one's purpose is one of the hardest things to do, but it's one of the most rewarding things to do. And that's the coaching that I'm doing is orientated towards helping people to find their purpose. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want written on your tombstone? What do you want people to remember you by?
And okay, there's a viewer's question here. She's saying, as you say that you're a motivational speaker and life coach, what kind of motivation do you do, and what kind of life coaching do you do? I think you've spoken a bit about that. Maybe you can expand, because she needs to understand what kind of motivation do you do and life coaching do you do?
Well, I think that from a motivation point of view, I've lived a life that very few people have. And I've lived a life of, I can tell you what, resilience. One of the things I do consider myself, without thinking twice, I can tell you that I'm one of the most resilient people I know. Because, and I know that because I know what I've been through, and I know what I've had to, the music industry in itself is an industry that batters you quite badly. And it's, you get battered, and you have to come back for more and come back for more and come back for more. So I know about resilience. So I think that my, and I'm not mad about the word motivational speaker, because I like to think that I can leave a room when I've been speaking to people, and they'll think about it for more than just that 2 days of warm, fuzzy feeling, and then it goes back to what you used to feel, that motivation. So I like to think that I can impart some kind of inspiration because of the life I've lived, and because of the lessons I've learned, and because of the I've been I definitely think that adversity has defined me. I'm not defined by, I don't like to think, or I don't think I'm defined by what I've achieved. I think I'm defined by what I've overcome. I think one is defined by what you overcome. And I can certainly talk about overcoming a lot. And in terms of coaching, I think I've touched on that.
Yes, you have.
To find your purpose is the most important thing. And I believe I have the tools, the toolbox to pass on to people.
Absolutely, especially with the experience that you've gained through what you've been through. That's a whole lot of experience from a world of being exposed to fame at a very young age. How you handled that, your downfalls, and how you picked yourself up. I truly do believe that you do have the experience that you can share with the rest of the world. We've got one of our viewers today, Percy English. She's saying he's saying, I grew up listening to her music and the likes of Brenda Fassie, Yvonne Chaka Chaka. What lesson can you share with today's musicians as a legend that kept you going from the 80s to date?
What lesson?
Yes.
Well, I have to say that I watch the young musicians and I want to get them all into a room and I want to say to them, now listen, you're musicians. You are not something that's been bestowed upon the planet to walk the earth with a staff and think that you're some kind of prophet. I think that musicians today take your job seriously. I've always taken my job seriously. I've never not been on time. I've never not tried to deliver, whether there've been 10 people in the audience, and sometimes there have, or 10,000 or 100,000. I give of my best with every performance. Right now, the lesson I'd like to give performers and artists is, guys, take your job seriously, but not so much of the self-importance. Not so much. You don't have to take yourself so seriously. You know,
Laugh at
just
yourself at
realize
times.
that we are just people that have we're lucky enough to have the talent to be able to do what we do. But,
Absolutely.
you know, we don't have to be so incredibly full of self-importance.
Absolutely. A bit of, humble pie, eat a bit of humble pie here and there, and just know that you're a human being. Be within the people. There's
And
another,
what we've
and
had to realize as musicians,
yes,
it's a bitter pill to swallow, is that people with no talent have become famous. And the
absolutely.
Kardashians, the likes of
Oh
the
yes,
Kardashians, and
oh
the
yes,
likes of what was her name, Paris Hilton, and the likes of those people have made us see clearly that people with no passion, I mean, people
have
with
made
no
it.
talent,
Talent have
can
made it.
become famous. So fame is no
Absolutely.
longer this big elusive thing. It's
Mm.
it's if you photograph yourself in the right way and you wear the right
If you're
makeup, or
creative enough and innovative.
if you're creative enough and you're self-obsessed, I've noticed, you can become extremely famous.
Jesus, Thandeka. All right. Percy Engel is saying here, which musician would you like to collaborate with today if you were given a chance?
Majosi,
Okay, and why? Why Majosi?
because I think he's magnificent. I think
So
his
are others.
voice is unbelievable,
Okay.
and I think he's got his root is talent. His root is real. Um, and all the other stuff comes from somewhere. I've been watching him, and
Mm,
I think that he's huge.
okay. And we've got another anonymous. Oh, yeah, I understand why this one is anonymous. He or she is asking, have you ever been married before and why not? Also, she's saying that you have been brave enough to come out and say at one stage that you're a lesbian. Okay, I never got that. So why don't you have kids? Yeah, it's a mouthful. So there's three questions to this. Are you married? And if you're not married, why not? And secondly, are you a lesbian? And thirdly, why don't you have kids?
Okay. I don't like labels. So let's answer. The first thing is I don't have children because I had a very present mother, and this is a decision I made very young in my career. Is I've been around showbiz children, and I feel sorry for them. They're frightened. They have no boundaries. They I'm not saying all, but some. And I made a decision very young in my life that if I wanted to continue a career in show business for a long time, which is what I wanted to, there wasn't a place for children. I have fortunately brothers and sisters that have had lots of children. So I've got loads of nieces and nephews who are like my babies. But the good thing is I get to give them back at night. And I've never had the need for something to come from me. I may still end up adopting someone. And over the years, I have fostered people. But I don't have the need to have my genes, seeing, I think very often ego plays a big role in having children.
Sure.
But I really do. My prime reason is I've seen show business children. It's not pretty. Am I a lesbian? I'm not mad about the word lesbian.
Okay.
I think I can answer that question. Probably the most honest way I can answer the question is that I love men and I love women. And people can make of that, they can label that in whatever way they like.
Okay. Okay. And then
So I've answered all three.
no, the third question was, are you married? And if not, why not?
There's a big secret that's brewing. And so I don't want to talk about that right now. But the status, whatever status people think I am, will be changing soon.
Oh, lovely. And I'm sure we're going to see that in your documentary, because I know that you are shooting
Indeed,
a documentary.
Because Ginger,
When,
you're getting everything out of me.
when is the documentary coming out, and what is it about? I do know that you want to feature your second mom, Lillian, who's currently in KZN. What is the documentary about, and what can we expect as your followers?
Okay, the documentary is about my life. It's from me as a little girl growing up at a farm
Yes.
in northern KwaZulu-Natal. It's about me. It's about I'm going to my school. I'm going to the farm that I grew up on, and then after that, the house that I grew up on in Durban. I'm moving to. I'm interviewing best friends from when it is an in-depth. You know what happened is Mnet chose 10 iconic South Africans to have 90 minutes. So it's a feature film, really.
Okay. All right.
Documentaries made on us. And there's Charlize Theron, there's Mark Shuttleworth, there's Elon Musk, there's a lot of really heavyweights there. And we're doing my documentary as well, which will be a completely documented documentary on my life and how the ups and the downs and the ins and the outs, and interviewing as many people as is possible that have contributed to my life. And there've been many.
Okay. I thought you'd mention Sharon Stone, since you've shared a bed with her, and you tell us how she made you feel like, oh my gosh, she got such a nice body and, all in shape, and there you are.
Yeah. One wants to lie down very quickly when you're with Sharon, because you know that feeling when you lie down, you feel thinner when you lie down. Sharon Stone is I'm lucky enough, I stayed in her pool house.
Nice.
And I'm lucky enough I'd be able to call her friend. And why I say I'm lucky enough is Sharon Stone's not just that actress who opened her legs on the movie Basic Instinct and became famous. Yeah. If you follow Sharon on Instagram, she nearly died. She saw a white light. She's got this beautiful book out at the moment called The Joy of Living Twice. And what it is it's about the fact that she did actually die on the doctor's table. She had a severe brain stroke. So at the moment, Sharon is iconically big in the United States. And if you talk about a woman of substance, and talk about a woman not taking herself too seriously, but taking what has happened in her life seriously. Sharon was she was very good to me, and in fact, it was Sharon who was the first person that made me look in the mirror with regards to my alcohol consumption.
Wow. Okay, we've got a comment here from Kolelwa Gozana Siboza. She's saying, our Thandeka, love her a lot. Thank you, Ginger, for bringing her to your show. So see, people still love you. I mean, we used to listen to you when we were young. You're such an inspiration, even now with your whole story. I think for me, what's intriguing and interesting is the fact that you did not hide your true self, because authenticity says a lot. If you're real and true, then we're able to relate with you as a human being.
Well, there's no point in lying. And
absolutely.
I believe that if you're not authentic, you can't last. Koliswa, thank you very much for that lovely, lovely comment. Yeah. And, Yeah, you can't. I think that if there's been a guiding light in my life, it's been the word
Be true,
authenticity. You got to
be
stay
real,
true
be
to
true.
yourself.
Yeah, that's just how it is. And I also think that that's what pushed you or made you actually write your whole story on the book that you've written, Here I Am. Here I Am, you are basically giving us yourself. This is who I am, the good and the bad side. And we're so grateful as South Africa for that, because we can learn from people like you. What as we wrap up, PJ Powers, I want you to just give a message out there to all drug, well, not just drug addicts, but addicts in at large. Alcoholics, drug addicts, etc. Just give out a message, a pass on a message that you have maybe to them and for them.
My message to you, first of all, is that you're not alone. I understand how you're feeling.
Yes.
And if you're in active addiction, I'm sending you so much love. And I'm just telling you that that I think that the finest thing you can do is share. Reach out, ask for help. And please, I beg of you, if you are drinking, if you are drugging, get to your closest NA meeting, Narcotics Anonymous, get to your closest AA meeting. You can go online now and say AA meetings. I can be on an AA meeting at 12 o'clock at night now. If you have a smartphone, you can go on to an AA meeting. And if you're battling with this, know one thing: you cannot do it alone.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Persingo, I'm going to read your question, although it's something that we've answered before, but maybe you can answer again, PJ Powers. Maybe he wasn't in when we started. He's asking, what was your experience as a white South African musician who sang Zulu during the apartheid era? How were you labeled, and how did you rise above all that? I mean, we spoke about that you were embraced and loved. They even gave you a name.
Yes,
Thandeka.
I was embraced and loved by the black people. I was hated by the whites. I was
Yes.
called a traitor. I had bricks thrown through my window at night, in the middle of the night. It was quite hair raising. So I had my fair share of hate mail and my fair share of hate from the whites at that time, but it didn't concern me, because the love that I was getting and feeling from
Yeah.
black people in this country was so overwhelmingly fantastic that it didn't worry me. For me, I just thought, if you want to be racist, then go ahead and be racist.
Sure. And Thandeka, it's very ironic, because the same people whom you probably expected that they will hate you, they actually loved and embraced you. They were for you through it.
Oh yeah,
Amazing,
absolutely.
amazing. It's amazing. All right. Thank you so much, PJ / Thandeka. We are grateful that you come to our show today. We're also grateful as South Africa that you spend your time talking to us. We are grateful for your motivational speaking and the life coaching thing. We are looking forward for the documentary that's coming up. We know that we're going to be empowered. We know that we're going to learn a lot from that. And do let us know. We follow you on Instagram. We follow you on Facebook. And as you have said, that we can find your book if we go onto your website. I'm sure our viewers are looking forward to reading the
onto
book.
my website, or if they just get hold of all they have to do is get onto the Facebook, of Penguin or Random House Publishing, and just ask for the book.
All right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we had for tonight with PJ Powers / Thandeka, singing Jabulani, singing one of my favorite songs, Dear Mama. I loved that song. And also when you collaborated with, you sing with Miriam Makeba, Yvonne Chaka Chaka. I know that there was stuff that you sang with, you loved also Brenda Fassie. So we're so grateful that you came to our show, and we're so excited. And we're looking forward to all the new things that you're about to do and to roll out, and also the new name change that's about to come that you don't want to reveal as yet. We will be on the lookout for that. Thank you so much, PJ Powers, and we wish you all the best.
And
Ladies
Ginger,
and
thank you very much for having me on this gorgeous show. You're gorgeous, and I hope that you go from strength to strength.
Thank you so much.
And I'll be here anytime you need me.
Absolutely. At least I got your number now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming through. Ginger the Voice appreciates you. My name is Ginger, the founder of Ginger the Voice. We are a communications company that seeks to give hope, courage, and enlightenment. We do this through various platforms such as speaking, singing, and hosting talk shows. Thank you so much for tuning in. Till next time, God bless.